Blue now continue at the top of the table.
조별리그에서 또 C9이 실드팀을 꺾었듯이 충분히 가능성이 있다고 생각해요.
Going into it, we're probably underdogs, but it's not impossible that we could win.
Sneaky coming around after using his QSS. It's going to be Cloud9 to win this one. Cloud9 picking up a massive victory.
C9에서 특별히 경기하는 선수라던가 그런 건 딱히 없고요.
Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Busan, Korea. We're inside the Bexco Auditorium where the 2014 League of Legends World Championship continues with day 2 of the quarterfinals. 6 teams remain in this round of the knockout stage with their hopes for a title and the Summoners Cup on the line every single game. We saw moments ago Cloud9 entering the Bexco Auditorium ready for this series. High, following in Hart's footsteps and sporting his team logo on the side of his head. Thank you for joining us. I am Trevor Quickshot Henry, and manning the world's analyst desk with me once more are, of course, Mitch Crepo Forsballs of Evil Geniuses, Counterlogic Gaming's Peter Double F Peng, on-game netcaster Christopher Monte Cristo Michaels, and rounding out the table, David Freak Turley from the North American LCS. Gentlemen, it's great to have the band back together again, but before the singing and dancing, we need to talk a little bit about the 2014 World Championship and how it's being broadcast around the globe in 16 different languages in tandem with 24 broadcast partners in order to help us deliver the excitement directly to you. This includes the Chinese LPL team, who are working hard to provide the coverage for their audience. Very excited today, as well as Korea's on-game net, who are here to bring their own style to these matches, as you saw yesterday at the opening of the show. There, of course, we'll also take a look at our caster team for today, D-Man, Joe, and Kobe, who will be casting today's Best of 5 series. And finally, rounding out the team, Shox will be providing an inside view as she talks to the teams. Right now, she's actually standing by with Cloud9's General Manager, Jack. So let's check in.
Thank you very much, Trevor. I'm indeed standing by with Jack to ask him a little about the huge matchup that's coming up for your team. First off, yesterday the game was perceived very much as David versus Goliath. How do you see this one?
This is an exciting moment for us. This is what we've been working for the entire year. I believe that we're ready for this. Obviously, Samsung Blue is a very good team, but we've been working for this all year. We're ready for this.
You guys are ready. What for you is the key element of this matchup, a particular lane or player?
I think all eyes need to be on Hai and Dade. It's going to come down to how Hai performs. If he has a good game, we're going to give him a struggle.
You're going to give him a struggle. What were the final things you said to them? What was the mood like just before they came on stage here?
They're confident. They're ready for this. They're excited about it, and we want to put on a good show for everybody.
I'm sure you will put on a great show. Good luck. Thank you very much. And now, to get things started, let's go back over to the desk.
Thank you very much, Shox and Jack. The quarterfinals, they did kick off yesterday with Korea's Samsung White taking on North America's Team Solo Mid. And White ended up taking the series 3-1. Just before we move to today's series, I just want to chat to you guys and talk about yesterday's series a little bit. Doublelift, what really stands out in your mind about the games between White and Team Solo Mid?
Well, NA really exceeded everyone's expectations, right? We all expected a 3-0 sweep from Samsung White, but TSM took them in Game 3 and almost took it in Game 4. They put up a really good fight, almost out-rotated them for the entire game, and just what a ridiculous show by North America.
Yeah, I mean, TSM held up pretty well, but you can't understate how darn good Samsung White is. Individually, especially, they got the individual outplays. I like that when Pond 1v1'd Bjergsen over in Game 2, that Fizz vs. Ed matchup, he then repeated it with a dive when he had level 6 with level 5 advantage. And just the individual plays over and over and over. Samsung White, obviously an incredibly strong team.
Yeah, that individual level of play actually translated into a little bit of boldness in the following games, especially in terms of picks of ban. Let's recall Game 2. First pick top lane from TSM, coming out for Samsung White. The last pick Singe. While I think Singe is a good counter and was used well in that matchup, all the other lanes picked a weak bot lane. Pond decided not to use his purple side counter pick at all. I think every match he wanted to show that he could blind pick his champion on blue side and or even on purple side, and that showed in Game 3 where he picked a Kassadin blind and he got a little bit punished for that, especially after the brutal level 1. So Samsung White got a little bold. I hope Samsung Blue will stay calm, focused, and not make the same mistake.
I hope so too. And even Samsung White, Mata, in an interview with Inven, a major Korean site yesterday, said that when asked why they lost Game 3, he said, well, we got cocky in picks and bans, and we weren't concentrating during the level 1. So
that's enough. This is
it does. It is a problem the team continues to suffer from. Guys, thank you very much. Let's take a quick look at the championship bracket after that result was locked in and see how it's shaping up. With that victory, Samsung White will move on to the semi-finals. They'll face the winner from today's match between either Korea's Samsung Blue or North America's Cloud9. On Sunday, it's a China versus China affair as Starhorn Royal Club and Edward Gaming face off once more, with the winner facing either Korea's Najin White Shield or China's OMG. And that will, of course, be the final series in our quarterfinals on Monday. Yesterday's matches did give us some incredible world's big plays to look at, so we're going to see who you guys were tweeting up a storm about. Our first one comes from game number 1 and featured Mata and his insane hooks. At King Nosehair, great nickname, tweets, Mata, that hook was amazing. Mata cannot be human. He can't be. This was your number 3 world's big play.
Bjergsen's gonna get knocked away. Does he finalize the kill? The ignite's there. The exhaust lasted so long. Mata with a godlike hook from over the wall to save Pond's rear.
that hook was actually Bjergsen. It wasn't amazing, just to clarify.
I like to go through the timing on his flay, though. If he was going to get the last hit, actually flayed perfectly to actually land on him as he was moving across. So the flay was actually almost better.
Well, let's see the next one. It comes from game number 3 and features a fabulously timed flay from Lustboy. At the Slippery Sud says that lantern for Dyrus, and then the flay on Imp from Lustboy in the top lane was glorious. This was your second most talked about moment.
Actually come out of this a little bit farther behind than they should, but only 2,000 gold against a comp like this can't be bad. What a play!
He gets the dodge though, but Dyrus is gonna be there.
We're just gonna see it again. This is the lantern from Lustboy, and he times the jump. That is just beautiful.
See, he followed that flay. He followed that flay up with a zoning hook. As a master of the zoning skill shot, it means either you're gonna miss your skill shot, but they'll juke themselves into death, or you're gonna hit that. So whenever you see me miss that
was the Creppo, wasn't it?
No,
yeah.
the skill shot, guys.
Right. Last but certainly not least was Imp getting by with a little help from his friends. He has his second pentakill at Worlds, which came from Game 4 versus Team Solo Mid. This one comes to us from @Thoyanadul. Yeah, Imp pulling off that Twitch pentakill against TSM was beautiful. This is your #1 moment.
A good spread of damage coming in from Amazing. They do get Pond. Will they be able to lock him down? Intervention comes out nicely from Looper. Is it enough though? Wild Turtle takes down Mata. That's a double kill coming in for Imp. They start to clean up this fight, but now they're all spread out in the wrong positions. Another answer coming in from Bjergsen, but they have lost 4 members, and he's trying to run by himself. Great Tempest. The cripple actually doesn't lock down. Bjergsen's just out of range. Woo, still trying to fight. Wow. And it cost him his life. Pentakill for Imp.
It's really just the small things that Imp does that really impresses me. The way he orb blocks between his spray and pray, like that ultimate changes his auto attack, so it's really hard to orb block between autos, but he does it perfectly. He knows when he doesn't need to expunge. It's all these really small things where like an expunge, most people would have expunged, but he just autos them twice and saves it. It's so good.
Somebody's got a crush. Thank you for that, guys. And for you at home, remember to keep sending us your favorite moments from the knockout stage by tweeting to us at LOL eSports using that hashtag #WorldBigPlays. Besides those big plays, we also want to highlight the 5 Ds of Dodge LOL, as players dodge, dip, dive, duck, and then dodge once more. The segment we're carrying on called Dem Jukes. The first one, Bjergsen escaping Mata's death sentence.
Getting slowed down, but then this one, hut ulti to get through the skill shot. I think that's pretty nice. And jumps right back as well, just to make sure he doesn't get hit up by. He actually expected the Flay or Cocoon to lead him on the ulti.
Cocoon could have been predicted
on either of them, yeah.
Yeah, that's really hard.
Well, next one, Bjergsen manages to get away with the great timing on that wind wall.
Yeah, that wind wall was really quick because any later, and I think he would have just been gone. Yep.
Oof. Very, very close indeed. So, well played. Hopefully we get a few more of the jukes and big plays today. For more information about the teams and players in the World Championship, head to lolesports.com for stats, feature articles, VODs, and much more. You can also visit the schedule to vote on the team that you think will win the series. We also have a new feature on the website. Point your browser to watch.lolesports.com, where you can view the matches in the language of your choice, along with real-time stats and tweets from the pro players. We'd also like to find out on Twitter and ask you guys to answer a question for us. What's been your favorite moment from Worlds so far and why? Think about the group stage, think about the knockout stage. Crepo, tell me what really stands out in your minds.
See, if I think back to yesterday, one of the most beautiful plays I've ever seen in League of Legends has to be that like 3-buff in Game 2 that Samsung White pulled off, because it wasn't pre-planned, it was reactionary. TSM invaded their blue buff, they defended it, then took TSM's blue buff, got their own red buff as well, and then Amazing came back all the way to their blue buff, and because that play went down the way it did, TSM lost their teleport, but White had it. They had teleport advantage, used it on Looper to come back in for a kill and just clean up that fight. And that was, reacting to an invade is good. Holding a buff is even better, but getting 3 buffs and a teleport play kill of that was just really beautiful and showed why they're one of the favorites to win this tournament.
Top 4 team at Worlds already.
Yeah.
Freak, what's a moment that stands out in your mind?
I really loved the Kaboom versus Alliance upset. That was a great moment for me, because I had actually the privilege a year and a half ago of casting a Brazilian upset at IEM Sao Paulo when Cade team beat Incredible Miracle, and the crowd went absolutely mental in Sao Paulo to watch that upset. I can only imagine what all the Brazilian fans sounded like when that game went down, but at least I have a good memory of what one was before, so I'm sure that was a great moment for all those fans.
It really was. Congratulations to them and the International Wildcard squads. You guys at home, tweet your responses to us at LOL eSports with the hashtag Worlds, and we'll share your responses later on in the show. Now we are set for our first game of the series as Korea's Samsung Blue faces North America's Cloud9. And this game marks round 2 battle between Korea and North America here in the quarterfinals. Let's start by talking about Samsung Blue. They come into this match with a 5-1 record, dropping only that single game to Fnatic in dramatic style. But I feel like this team has looked beatable at different stages of their game throughout the group stages. And let's get some analysts to chime in on whether or not you agree or disagree with that statement. Freak, let's start with you.
I agree that Samsung Blue does look beatable, but keep in mind they are still heavy favorites coming in. They're one of the heavy favorites of the tournament itself. But these are 2 shot-calling heavy teams. They're teams that want to get out of the laning phase 15, 20 minutes in, and then rely on either Dade and Hart on the side of Samsung Blue or High on the side of Cloud9 to make the shot calls and to kind of navigate themselves. Now, that said, as far as early game is concerned, I think it's actually very important, though, for these teams. Deft, the AD carry of Samsung Blue, is actually underperforming early game. He is the 2nd worst laning so far of any AD carry in this tournament. Meanwhile, Meteos, the jungler here for Cloud9, actually is the farmingest jungler. He's got the highest CS lead of any jungler here. So the early game, if it just goes the way stats go, is actually going to go in C9's favor.
Let's go back to the AD carries and Double Lift. Talk to me about them.
Yeah, and Freak just said Deft is the 2nd worst AD carry in terms of laning phase at 10 minutes, but he's got 44.9% of his team's overall damage to champions. That's ridiculous. That's nearly half his team's damage. He's also got the 5th highest GPM at Worlds for an AD carry. So, like, it's just insane that Deft is able to put up these huge numbers. He does so much with so little, I guess. With a weak laning phase, you would expect him to do less, but he does so much more.
Monte Cristo, care to chime in on some of the other lanes, maybe?
Sure. I mean, I'm really interested in the Balls versus Acorn, especially like the Rumble pick coming in here. I find like really interesting just because it is a little bit of a contested pick in this matchup. We have probably the best North American Rumble player and the best Korean Rumble player. I mean, Acorn first made his name as like a Rumble god. It was constantly banned against him. Hadn't brought it out in a while, but still looked good.
Now, Krepa, before I throw a question to you, we've talked a lot about Samsung Blue. Let's focus a little more on Cloud9. This is a team that's coming in, arguably the strongest team in North America, despite having the second place seed. What is it about this squad, or what do they have to do to really step up against Samsung Blue today?
Well, first of all, they need to play their own game. Just, as we saw yesterday, if you play towards your enemy and you play reactively, you're most likely going to lose. Once TSM started actually playing and initiating themselves, they did well. But the man I'm going to watch is Meteos, because as Freak said, he farms a lot, he farms well. But in the previous games, while he was farming well, he was putting a lot of pressure on the right points of the map, giving safety to his laners. I wonder if he could do that against a team as smart as Blue.
Yeah, it's going to be quite difficult. I mean, it's interesting, too. I was actually talking to Cloud9 right before the match, and they were saying, hey, we really wanted to face White. And, in fact, they had a better scrim record against White than with Blue, which is exactly the opposite of pretty much every other Western team. But they think that Blue matches up against them better because they consider themselves very obviously, as Freak was talking about, this late game, more rotationally intensive team, and they think that Blue just kind of is a little bit better in that regard. So they would have rather faced White, but they still said they were doing well against Blue in scrim.
Well, we need to rotate onto the predictions. We're going to be talking about this matchup all day long, but I want to ask you guys, who is going to be your victor this series and why? Krepa, you are first. Is it Cloud9 or is it Samsung Blue?
I'm going to go with Samsung Blue here. I think Cloud9 has a chance to win a game in this series. Talking to them earlier as well, Hai kept telling me about this crazy strategy they had prepared. So I'm waiting to see that, but I think it might be just enough for one game, perhaps two. But overall, Blue is by far the favorite for this series.
Monte Cristo?
Yep, I got to go with taking Samsung Blue as well in this matchup. I'm going to say 3-1 also. I just think that, you know, they have deeper champion pools. I think Dade is the superior mid laner, and that's going to probably break the game.
A lot of individual information here. Double left. Is it going Samsung Blue, or are you going with Cloud9 and why?
Samsung Blue is just the clear favorites here. I'm going with them, absolutely. 3-1. I do think the big discrepancy is going to be in the bottom lane because Def just does almost nearly double Sneaky's damage. This guy is so good. He makes all the plays. Yes, you've seen him flash into people and kind of throw games, as you saw against OMG, but Def is just so consistent and so good. I don't expect Sneaky to match up very well, and I'm just going to have to give it to Blue.
And Freak, final thoughts?
I also agree Samsung Blue. I would be incredibly surprised if it was 3-0, so my prediction for the matchup will be 3-1. And yeah, as you were talking about Monte Cristo, I think Blue is just a slightly better version of Cloud9, but I want to know which version of Cloud9 actually shows up. If Hai is actually on point, C9 could win this series entirely, and I wouldn't be too surprised if they won, but Hai's been incredibly inconsistent. If he shows up poorly, then maybe they do get 3-0'd. I think it depends, as Jack said, a lot on that player.
So unanimous in favor of Samsung Blue. However, every analyst has given Cloud9 some props. Let's have a look on lolesports.com to see how you guys have voted, and 59% of you think that Cloud9 will advance to the semifinals. Somebody is going to get pie on their faces. It will either be everyone watching at home or the analysts, and that angelic chorus means it's the Prophet's turn to reveal his pick. He may not physically be with us, but the word of Team Dignitas jungler Alberto Crumbledore Renhifo sprints all the way to us in Korea. In his last 9 predictions, he's correctly chosen 8 and became legendary for picking 4 upsets correctly during the group stage in Singapore. Again, ironically, his disciples forget that he's got the least amount of total games predicted correctly.
Stats don't lie.
He is siding with the analysts and predicting Samsung Blue. So the Prophet and the analysts are going with Korea. The viewers at home are going with North America. We're about to find out who comes out on top as we head over to the caster desk for game 1. But just before that, the teams talk about their opponent's strengths and weaknesses heading into this very important series.
Samsung Blue basically has the very best planning and the best late game. Their actual ability to just have a perfect plan throughout the entire game is unmatched.
C9이라는 팀 자체는 라인전은 그렇게 다 센 편이 아닌데 운영을 되게 잘하는 것 같아요. 일단 라인전을 무난하게 흘러가거나 수합을 하고 그다음에 나중에 후반에 한타나 운영으로 게임을 풀어가는 게 비슷한 것 같아요.
일단 C9의 메테오스 선수가 정말 이번에 실드랑 하는 경기도 봤고 가끔 뭐 여러 팀들이랑 하는 경기를 다 봤는데 정말 대단하시더라고요. 괜히 그런 명성을 얻는 게 아닌 것 같고.
I'd say their entire team's good. Their star players probably Dade for the most part because just straight hard carries games like 1v5. But their entire team's really good.
아직은 그렇게 완벽하게 준비를 했다고는 말 못하겠는데 지금 남은 기간 동안이라도 더 다듬어서 완벽한 준비를 마쳐야죠.
계획이라 하면은 C9은 이기는 거겠죠. 이기려고 많이 노력해야죠.